Welcome to Chapter 5, which is on sustainability and the supply chain, with special emphasis on the design of goods and services. So in this particular case, we're going to talk about the product life cycle, which is something that you took in intro marketing if you've taken an intro marketing course. We're going to just describe the development process and how time phase competition is important and implemented. We're going to identify some of the differences between products and services, and we're going to look at decision trees. As you can see, product life cycle can be fairly short and to very long, as far as few hours to decades. The trend these days is, of course, to have shorter product life cycles. If any of you are well aware of what's going on in the tech industry, which I'm sure you are, with regards to the fact that the frequency of, let's say, cell phone updates and replacements. In the case of Apple, it's once a year, usually in the fall, September, maybe October. And with other products, it may even be more frequent updates to your software, etc. So here's just the product life cycle, which again, if you took intro marketing, your introduction, growth, maturity, and decline, you also see the emphasis on cash flow, and you need to balance these if you've got multiple products, where you have some products that are in the revenue or the profit side, and some that are new, so you are losing money. So in this particular case, in the introductory phase, you do your research, product development, modify it, and then develop a relationship with your suppliers to be able to actually deliver product to market. Growth, product obviously becomes more stabilized. It's easier to start to forecast, and from forecasting comes capacity planning. Maturity, we know the competition. You've got lots of volume, and you now have, there's just more stability overall. So improve cost control, reduction in options, so you narrow from, say, having 12 different options down to maybe 8 or whatever the case may be, which makes it easier to produce. Decline, you have to start cutting and start perhaps planning to eliminate or terminate the offering by perhaps a replacement or refreshment. Car industry is usually 5 years for this, until there's a complete redesign of it. One of the things they do in the car industry is usually in the 3rd year of the 5 years, they'll redo things like the grille and the lights. That's a very common thing to make the vehicle look a little bit different. So be careful when if you look at that, it's like, is it a redesign or is it a total redesign? Which may mean that it has looks very different. It has very different features, safety features, engine perhaps, etc. This is something that's important, especially if in project management, is when you think about when you decided to go to school. That was a very expensive day, even if you hadn't put any money down. You are committed to going to school and spending significant dollars. And at that point, if one day you said, I'm going to go and take program A at school X, and the next day you decided, no, I'm going to take program B at school Y, it didn't cost you anything. So it's very easy to change. But as you get into the program, so a lot of you are certainly been in school for a few terms now, to change from the program you're in to a different one, to major or switch schools or whatever, becomes very expensive. So when you're early on, you can change things more easily and there's less of a cost to making a change. As you get further and further into the development or the product life cycle, then it becomes more expensive too, because you've spent 3 terms worth of tuition or 3 years worth of tuition. So you need to brainstorm to come up with opportunities for products or services, understand sociological and demographic change, technological change. Excuse me. There's a gentleman I know, he is literally a millionaire, and what he did was he took the area of occupational health and safety, which most people have to take some training courses in wherever they work, and he put it online so people would be able to do it in the evenings or on the weekends, or didn't have to actually go to a physical classroom. And we're seeing with the pandemic that this is drastically changing the way we obviously deliver. We have the technology to be able to deliver a lot more online in a very effective way than we did before. And even after the pandemic, a lot of the schools are considering a hybrid, say 1 class a week in the classroom and 1 class online, because students still like that connection that you get by having a physical classroom, as do many of your instructors. Quality function deployment, don't spend a lot of time on this. It was a way of developing quality products, as you can see by the title. So just quite frankly, just skim over this particular part. Manufacturing and value engineering, which is very important. Making sure that basically, some call it value chain these days, with making sure that your product meets customer needs, which might sound pretty basic. But one of the things that is happening too is that manufacturers are making products, trying to make the making of the product, the production of the product, simpler. I'll give you a very specific example. In the Toyota Camry, at one point, they used to put 3 strips for weather stripping on the frame for the door. What that would do is reduce dust wouldn't come into the and dirt would not come into the cabin of the car, and it would also therefore sound, reducing sound. When they came out with a new version of the Toyota Camry, they put 1 strip, and that strip was actually wider than the 3 strips before. It was actually less expensive for Toyota to put in the 1 strip than the 3 strips. And so it was win-win. So in that particular case, the reason why it was less expensive is the material was very inexpensive, but the labor. So think about this. You're asked to draw 3 lines on a piece of paper. You draw 1, 2, 3 lines. How long did that take you? Then you're given a wider, say, felt marker, and you're asked to draw it once. Takes you a lot less time. Just an example of what I was, reducing complexity for making the product. And you can see here's a nice little example, and how the costs have gone down by just redesigning the product, and you have value engineering. Product life cycles have become shorter because of technological change. So there's more and more frequent updates, and sometimes people are getting tech weary. Do I have to upgrade my phone like every year, or do I have to get operating system, changes to every 2 or 3 months, like to my operating system on, say, my phone? Documents for the production. You have charts, route sheets, work orders, engineering change notices. So if you want to change the product. Service design comes with interaction with the customer. You can customize it. Simple things as customizing is simply referring to the customer by name. And so you can also try to make it a little more modular. One of the things that we're doing with recording these lectures ahead of time is it's potentially you could have the same videos for all sections of the same course and reduce the amount of time that is spent in the classroom. That's the way that it honestly should be. Decision trees, which we're going to deal with in this chapter, and one of the modules at the end of your book, is just helpful for deciding between different outcomes. So we're going to go through this, and this is one of the with decision trees. We're going to go through this, and this is one of the things where examples are more helpful than just showing your procedure. And that is the end of chapter 5.